Alright guys, after that intro, if old T-Bone has been doing his editing properly, then you now realize that you are in T-Bone's Southern Ride presents Rocking, Shocking October of Motos and Mayhem. And this is actually, guys, going to be episode 2 in this series, where we talk about all things horror, mystery, suspense, macabre, you know, the slicing and dicing of October. And out here riding on a beautiful October morning, short sleeve shirts, beautiful fall leaves changing, some are already falling, so it's very, very, very much the Halloween hour. I'm really starting to feel it, guys. As you can see, I don't know if the camera will get it, but there's leaves falling everywhere. Just a beautiful, beautiful autumn morning. And episode 2, guys, if you watched episode 1, then thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. The Hills Have Eyes was episode 1. Of course, I'm going to try to edit out an intro and put onto that video before I upload it. It probably won't happen because I'm going to have to... I did it to myself, guys. I have got a ton of editing that I've got to do. But, nonetheless, here we are. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm T-Bone. I make motorcycle content, and this month, Halloween content. And if you're new here, or old here, welcome back. You know what's going on. We're out here today going down the road at half the speed we need, and we are riding the Blue Moon. And if you watch the unveiling of the Blue Moon on T-Bone Southern Ride, you know that the Midnight Express is no longer here. I traded for this bike, 1997 Dyna Super Glide, that we have called the Blue Moon. And if you followed that video, then you noticed something different immediately. The handlebars are gone, children. That was my first big complaint with this motorcycle. When I first got it, the bars had to go. I had to get them up and get myself up. Beautiful motorcycle, but I could not handle the bars that was on it. I have to give a special shout out in this video to my brother Homer Deal, Trey's dad. Trey will probably jump in here on the comments, let Homer know that they made it on the bike. They made it into an episode of T-Bone Southern Ride, and I thank him very much for the bars. Guys, Homer donated these bars to the bike. You know, he bought them, didn't like them. And if you followed my channel for a long time, you will realize that these bars are exactly like the bagger bars that was on the Midnight Express. So essentially, I got the cruiser bars on this bike that was on the Midnight Express, which I love the bars that was on the Midnight Express. They were comfortable. These bars are comfortable. They kind of stretch me out, make me feel better. I don't feel like I'm reaching down to the gas tank to ride the motorcycle. Those of you who know I can't ride with my arms down. I have to have my arms up a little bit to ride. Now, up here, that's exaggerated. I don't need them up that high. But right where about my shoulder and my wrist are level, I'm comfortable there. I ride good there. But guys, I'm going to do a walk around to this video, or this bike. Probably not in this episode, but I'm going to do a walk around and reshoot this bike. And I'm also going to do a walk around video for Big Papa, so keep your eyes open for them. But guys, and again, if you don't ride, but for my brothers and sisters who ride motorcycles, if you know, you know. Bars, a comfortable seat, and foot position are the 3 key points to being comfortable on a motorcycle. And with the bars that was on this motorcycle when I got it, to me, first, they took away from the look of the bike, and second, they were just completely, totally, unnecessarily uncomfortable. And I gotta thank my brother Milkman at Appalachian Mountain Rides. That's my second shout out on this video. Brother Milkman took my bike into the shop and in about an hour, maybe a little over an hour, he had the bar switched out, hooked me up with a new brake cable for the front, made sure that everything was tight and ready to ride, and the T-Bone was going to be safe out here on the road. And I give Milkman all the credit in the world, guys. He always, no matter how busy he is or what he's got going on, if I need him to do something for me, he'll do it. I'm trying to play around, guys. I'm trying to get used to this clutch and this second gear situation. This Dyna's clutch is totally different than Big Papa, my 2003 Fat Boy, Softail Fat Boy, is completely different. This is a totally different world. I know what you're thinking, but T-Bone, it's a Harley Davidson. Trust me, Harley Davidson doesn't mean universal. That doesn't mean they all ride and perform and do exactly the same. They don't. This bike right here rides totally different than my Fat Boy. Everything about it is totally different than my Fat Boy. With this bike, there's a lot more vibration, and I know what you're thinking, T-Bone. It's a Harley. It's going to vibrate, absolutely, but I'm used to having rubber mounted. I'm kind of spoiled, but nonetheless, moving on, I got the bars put on, changed the look of the bike, made me feel better about the bike. Comfortable to ride. I'm loving the ride now. So the Blue Moon's probably going to be around for a while, guys. You know, unless something just crazy comes along that I've got to trade for, or somebody makes me a stupid offer to buy this bike, of course I would sell it or trade it for a Softail. But for right now, I'm just kind of enjoying the ride. I'm going to get some time in the seat behind bars and bring you content. So without further ado, rockin' shockin' October motos and mayhem. So let's get to episode 2. And guys, I'm bringing you episode 2 all the way back from 1963. 1977 was a long ways back for The Hills Have Eyes, but I'm taking you all the way back to 1963 for a movie that starred 3 heavyweights of the horror world. Alright guys, and the movie that I'm talking about is none other than The Comedy of Terror. Now I know, I saw some of you pull back. Stay with me. The Comedy of Terror. I know what you're thinking, T-Bone, it's October, spooky, scary. We need machetes and masks and chainsaws and knives, and that's all coming, but true horror fans are going to appreciate The Comedy of Terror because in 1963, The Comedy of Terror brought together super heavyweights in the horror industry. 3 guys who could have by themselves, just for their solo careers, made it to any part of this list just on their own merit. But when they were brought together in 1963 to make The Comedy of Terror, they made magic. And guys, I'm talking about none other than the late great Mr. Boris Karloff, the late great Mr. Peter Laurie, and the late and very great, in my opinion, Mr. Vincent Price. Rest in peace to all 3 of you gentlemen. Guys, I'm a fan of Boris Karloff's work. Of course, he's the first heavyweight I mentioned because all 3 of these guys got their start in essentially the same place, and that was on radio. Of course, with Boris Karloff, he was the movie man at the time. He was the absolute undisputed king of horror. Of course, Frankenstein's monster was the character that put him on the map and made him a master of horror. And essentially, everything that he did after that, I mean, he was on the radio, and that's what all 3 of these guys have in common, is all 3 of them began their careers on the radio. Of course, Boris Karloff did a ton of movies, television appearances. I mean, he was in Dick Tracy. He brought together Blockhead for Dick Tracy. I mean, just made a ton of great content for us to watch over the years. But of course, Boris Karloff's crowning achievement was Frankenstein's monster in the original Frankenstein. I mean, Boris Karloff, guys, he's been immortalized in so many different ways. Of course, Looney Tunes, being the cartoons of the time, immortalized him in a sketch called Hollywood Goes Out on the Town, which is all of the big actors and actresses from that time, such as Clark Gable, Jimmy Stewart, Peter Laurie made an appearance in it, and then Boris Karloff made an appearance in that as Frankenstein's monster. But guys, Boris Karloff was the undisputed heavyweight champ of that time of horror. Again, he was on the radio, where a lot of people didn't have televisions. Radio was still the reigning king. You had Inner Sanctum Mysteries, the Mystery Playhouse, the Mystery Theater. Boris Karloff did it all, guys. I mean, he literally did it all. And what a body of work he left behind. And again, Boris Karloff could have made it onto this list solo by himself just for his body of work. But we move on next to the lovable underdog, the lovable character who, you hated to root for him, but you just loved him as an underdog, and that is the late, great, someone who I personally have a lot of respect for and love to watch his movies and listen to. Again, he started on the radio, and that's Mr. Peter Laurie. Peter Laurie is big time immortalized, guys. Even if you've never heard of Peter Laurie, you've heard his voice, because his voice has been used in a ton of stuff. Of course, he got his start on the radio as a character called the Amazing Mr. Chan. Was a Chinese private investigator. Great actor on the radio. Of course, he was the original host of the Mystery Playhouse. And guys, Peter Laurie did a ton of radio and television and movies. Again, just like Boris Karloff, Peter Laurie was that character who could have made it onto this list solo with just his body of work that he left behind. Again, Peter Laurie immortalized. He was in, of course, I mentioned the Looney Tunes sketch, Hollywood Goes Out on the Town. But then Looney Tunes went one step further, and they immortalized Peter Laurie in a solo cartoon with Bugs Bunny, where Bugs Bunny got trapped in a castle. And of course, Peter Laurie played one of his famous Mad Doctor characters, and he chased Bugs Bunny around the castle with a little bit of everything, axes and knives. But Peter Laurie, again, his voice immortalized him. He's just been immortalized across all media. But then we come to, guys, I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. Vincent Price could make it on this list anywhere across any part of the horror genre, whether it be suspense, mystery, macabre. Vincent Price has been there and done it all. And you cannot call yourself a true fan of horror if you've never heard of Vincent Price. Of course, Vincent Price is another one of those the guys that started his career in movies and on the radio. And he started on the radio as he played a character called Simon Templar in a radio series that later on became a television series called The Saint. And I've listened to all that on Spotify. He made guest appearances on Inner Sanctum Mysteries, the Mystery Playhouse. But guys, Vincent Price, in the 20th century, Vincent Price was the man. He was Mr. Spook, macabre, horror, suspense. I mean, even if you've never watched a horror movie, you've heard of Vincent Price. If you've ever listened to Michael Jackson's song Thriller, Vincent Price does the voice overlay in that. He's been immortalized in cartoon. He has been immortalized across the entire Scooby-Doo franchise up to present day because he voiced over a character in Scooby-Doo called Vincent Van Ghoul. And of course, Vincent Van Ghoul being a immortalized cartoon character, they actually came up with a series just for him and Scooby-Doo called the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. But Vincent Price, guys, he could have made it right here on any of his movies. The Bat, The Last Man on Earth, His Type of Woman, and for you mid-90s to early 2000s horror fans, you'll remember the movie House on Haunted Hill, which had Owen Wilson in it. Great movie, but guys, that was a remake of the original Vincent Price movie, House on Haunted Hill, which was a remake of an earlier movie, House on Haunted Hill. But I always believed that Vincent Price's version of House on Haunted Hill was superb. It set the tone for what that movie franchise would become. And Vincent Price did that across the board, guys. Whatever he was involved in, you knew if Vincent Price's name was on there that it was going to be something special. But those three heavyweights came together for the comedy of terror. Now, other heavyweights joined this cast as well. The late, great Mr. Basil Rawthorne. Basil Rawthorne, of course, again, another one of those characters that was huge on the radio and in movies and in TV series, most notably for playing Sherlock Holmes, which he played. He's one of the very few actors that got to play Sherlock Holmes on the radio, on TV, and in the movies. Basil Rathbone, again, just another one of those, can make it on any list just by himself and his body of work. Big fan of Basil Rathbone. One of my favorite Sherlock Holmes stories is The Hound of the Baskervilles, and Basil Rathbone played Sherlock Holmes so great in The Hound of the Baskervilles. If you haven't watched any of the old black and white Sherlock Holmes shows, then if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, you're missing out. You really are. And I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. I've listened to them on Spotify, the old radio series with Basil Rathbone. And guys, I'm telling you, heavyweights coming in for the comedy of terror. And I know what you're thinking. There's got to be a beautiful damsel. There is. The very beautiful, very attractive, very talented, and very classy Miss Joyce Jameson played the damsel in our movie Comedy of Terrors. So what you've essentially got with the Comedy of Terrors, guys, is you've got Basil Rathbone, who plays the landlord. You've got Boris Karloff, who plays the aging old father-in-law who can't hear. You got Vincent Price playing the lead antagonist, the bad man, if you will, the guy you're rooting for something bad to happen to. And then you've got poor Peter Laurie, who plays Gilly, who is the sidekick and the right hand to Vincent Price's character. And what happens, guys, is the landlord decides that, you know, this the whole basis of this thing is Vincent Price, and with the assistance of Peter Laurie, they run a mortuary, and they're a year behind on their rent. And essentially, Basil Rathbone's landlord character says, look, it's time for you to go. So Vincent Price, he plays a drunk, and he kills people so he can get the business and the money from their families for burying them. I'll pull over here just a minute, guys. Heavy traffic. Alright, guys, we're out here on 4-lane now. Sorry about that. I pulled out and then didn't realize there was a ton of traffic, so I would just rather get out of the way and let them go. But anyway, Basil Rathbone decides that it's time for these guys to pay their rent. So he is the richest man in town. Now, this movie's made in 1963, but it's based in 19th century New England. So what happens is you have Vincent Price and Peter Laurie begin just a movement of mistakes and actually great comedy, a little bit of macabre in it, a little bit of horror, a little bit of suspense, a little bit of jumping going on. Essentially, they keep killing Basil Rathbone's character, but he keeps coming back. They keep bumbling it. But guys, I'll be honest with you, I know I've kind of gushed over this movie, but I'm not going to tell you how it ends because I really want you guys to go and watch it. I have found it on YouTube, guys. If you can't find it on YouTube and you have the Tubi app, T-U-B-I, if you have the Tubi app, I believe that it has showed up on Tubi for Halloween. It's called The Comedy of Terrors, 1963. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Anything, in my view, now this is T-Bone's opinion, but anything that has Peter Laurie in it or has Boris Karloff in it or has Vincent Price in it is worth sitting down and watching. And you know, it's not that, and these are three characters, guys, that aren't just horror. They aren't just suspense. I mean, I've watched Peter Laurie play a straight man in a lot of movies. You know, a serious actor, very serious actor. Peter Laurie kind of come off as the lovable underdog, but he has been in roles where he played a very serious character. The same with Vincent Price. Vincent Price has played in roles where he played a very serious character, and one of those being The House on Haunted Hill, which is in the horror genre, but it's not just. There's serious acting in it. And of course, Boris Karloff's body of work speaks for itself. Mr. Karloff could do anything, any franchise he wanted to be a part of, he could make it his own. And there's very few actors and actresses left in the world today, guys, that can really do that. That can really take a character, can take a moment, and actually make it their own. So, there you have it, guys. Episode 2 in the rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem. With 1963's The Comedy of Terrors. You get a chance, guys, check this horror movie out for Halloween. And what's coming next? I mean, we've got the rocking, shocking I'm tongue-tied. The rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem. I'm going to be revealing more movies in this series. R1 is actually going to get in with me on this. We're going to do a movie review on some movies. And it's not just our Halloween themed movies, and it's not just horror movies, guys. We're going to be talking about, you know, some Halloween classic movies that you can sit down and watch with your family, and they're not vulgar, they're not macabre, but they're just good, spooky, fun to watch. And then at the halfway point, guys, who's going to be the halfway point of the rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem? What movie? And I promise you, at the halfway point, it's going to be one movie. Now, I'm going to be covering franchises, as I said in the last video. I'll be covering franchises like, you know, Friday the 13th or whatever. But for the halfway point and for October 31st, the Halloween night episode of T-Bone's Southern Ride, rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem, will feature 4 movies by one director. Who will it be? Will it be a franchise that you expect, that you think's probably about a normal safe bet that I might cover in this series, or will it be something completely out of left field that you would never expect? What I can tell you about the halfway point selection is it shouldn't be a shock to nobody. But it will be one movie. Should I give you who wrote the movie and who directed the movie? I don't think I will. I think I'll make you wait. But I'll let you know when we've reached the halfway point. And keep your eyes open for the Halloween episode of T-Bone's Southern Ride as I debut what I feel was one of the funnest franchises to watch happen in my lifetime in the horror industry. But I'll tell you what, guys, that's going to end this episode of T-Bone's Southern Ride. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to go follow us on Instagram. Check us out over on YouTube, over on Facebook, wherever you're watching this video now. And remember, guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know first what's happening, because I try to post first on Instagram. It don't always work out that way, but I do a lot of exclusive content for YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Some things you have to be on all three platforms to see everything, but remember to follow us, like, share, comment, guys. Let me know. I don't have these movies, other than the Midway Point and the October 31st movies. I don't really have these movies set in stone. So give me a recommendation. What's a good movie you think? Maybe I haven't seen it. I consider myself a horror connoisseur, but maybe you can suggest a movie that maybe I haven't seen. And maybe I could shoot content on it and review it and give you my ideas. Drop down and comment. Thank you guys for watching. So until the next time, I am T-Bone, and bringing you the spooktacular, rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem. Till the next time, guys, I am T-Bone, and this has been the Southern Ride.